Hi, my name is Bill Singer, and I'm with Kenwood Management. And I wanted to talk with you today about the difference in investing in a single-tenant property versus a multi-tenant property. Now, single-tenant properties, typically known as single-tenant net lease properties, or STNL, means that you are buying a property exactly as it sounds. There's only one tenant in there. And typically that tenant, it has a long-term lease, meaning 10 years or more, and very frequently the credit of that tenant is pretty strong, meaning it might be a publicly traded company. Examples of what I mean by a single-tenant net lease property would include a property that is leased by CVS or Walgreens, or perhaps a restaurant. Those would all be examples of a single-tenant net lease properties. As an investor, there's some nice advantages to this type of an investment. One is you're investing in a property that you're expecting to produce regular rental income on a steady basis for an extended period of time. As I said, it could be 10 years or more. And because of the strong credit nature of the tenant, you can feel pretty assured that that rental income is going to come every month. There are some challenges, though, that often investors don't think about when they consider investing in this type of property. First, when that lease expires, and it does happen, if that tenant does not renew, think about what that means. Yesterday you were 100% leased, and today you are now 0% leased. So you are now producing no income from the property. And on top of it, don't forget you still have expenses that you need to cover, even while it's vacant. Real estate taxes, insurance, utilities, all of that has to come out of your pocket while that property is not leased and while you're trying to find another tenant. Another potential problem that you would face when that property becomes vacant is that so frequently those single-tenant net lease properties are constructed very specifically for the tenant who is in there. Again, going back to the examples that I used earlier, think about a restaurant. Think about the way a restaurant is constructed. There's a kitchen, there's seating area. That is specific to that type of use. If your building goes vacant and then you find another tenant, and let's say it's Walgreens who's now interested, they need to completely reconstruct that building. I've even seen examples where in order to accomplish that new construction, the entire building had to be demolished and rebuilt in order to accommodate that other tenant. Well, remember this, the money that you need to do all that has to come out of your pocket. So although there's some very positive benefits to investing in a single-tenant net lease property, there's also some real potential risk when that lease expires. Now let's compare that to a multi-tenanted property. What I mean by a multi-tenanted property is that property is leased to many tenants, maybe 10, 15, 20, maybe more. One of the nice advantages of a multi-tenanted building is that you don't really face the risk of going to 0% vacancy. You may lose a tenant, and you may lose more than one tenant at a time, but you're far more likely to maintain a range of occupancy levels out of that multi-tenanted building. Very frequently, that might be between 95 and 85%. So you'll produce a comfortable cash flow with much less risk that the property would become completely vacant. Now, one of the challenges, one of the downsides of a multi-tenanted building is because you have all of these tenants, you will frequently have leases that are expiring, probably every year, maybe every few months. So it is more management intensive than the single tenant property is, but from an investor perspective, effectively the risk versus the reward is much more favorable for a multi-tenanted building than a single-tenant building. And that's Kenwood's perspective. When we purchase property, we only purchase multi-tenanted buildings. That is the first thing that we think about whenever we're looking at a potential acquisition. It must be multi-tenant. And frankly, the more tenants, the better. One of the other nice advantages of having a multi-tenanted building is that when you have a large tenant, like a single-tenant lease building, when it comes time to negotiating a lease, think about it. That single-tenant building or tenant is going to have a lot of negotiating strength because they know what position they're in. When you have a building with lots of smaller tenants, none of them have very strong negotiating strength because it would be very easy for them to be replaced. It's very easy to find smaller tenants. So that is our focus at Kenwood. Only multi-tenanted buildings. It provides a much better risk reward for our sponsors and for our investors. I hope you found this information helpful. If you'd like more, please go to our website, www.kenwoodmgt.com. And thanks for watching.